Hello, Gina, and welcome to the Integrative Health Practitioner podcast. I'm so excited to chat with you today. And I'd love for you to start by introducing yourself and telling us how you came to the integrative health world.
Yes, thanks for having me. I'm so excited. Always love chatting with you. So basically, I came to the IHP world. It's kind of a long story. I'll try to condense it as much as I can, but I started off in fitness. I originally have a finance degree, but my husband's military. So we had moved to Southern Georgia. It was really hard for me to get a finance job because it was really about who you knew, who your family was. Whenever I went to interviews, the second they found out we were military, they're like, thanks, but no thanks. So that didn't work out. So I had fallen in love with fitness in college. So I was like, okay, I'm going to explore this a little bit, became a certified personal trainer, started with group fitness, and also started my healthy lifestyle blog while we were in Georgia. So that has grown. I started it back in 2008. So it started off just as a blog, a way for me to share recipes and workouts with my clients and my mom and my grandma, who were like the only people that read it at the time. And it's grown from there. And I always wanted to help my clients in a different way. For so many of them, they weren't getting the results they wanted. They had really low energy, and I suspected something else was going on, but I couldn't tell them that. It wasn't in my scope of practice. So I helped them with nutrition and I helped them with training. And there was always this little voice in my head telling me that I should look into that a little bit more. And functional medicine personally changed my life. It has changed my family's life. There's been a handful of times in my life where conventional medicine told me, this is it. You're going to have to deal with it forever. Here's this pill that you will have to take forever or have this surgery. And then I went on to find functional medicine practitioners, naturopaths who are able to help me completely fix the issue. So it's really powerful. And I've seen firsthand all the amazing things that it can do. And so I actually had Dr. Cabral on my podcast last year. And I had followed him on Instagram for quite a while. So I knew that I liked him. But after having him on the podcast, I was just like 100% on board. It's like, I really admire him and appreciate everything he does. I just feel like he's the real deal. Like, he's never trying to sell you anything. He's very honest and transparent. And I really appreciate that, especially after being in this world for about 16 years now. You see a lot of different things. So I'm like, I want to learn everything I can from him. So I started the IHP courses, and it's been really amazing because I've been able to add extra value and services to my current clients, expand my offerings, change my business, all while helping people experience the same things that I was able to experience.
Wow, I love that. That's so cool that he was on your podcast.
Yes. And I didn't know him very well at the time. So I was asking him questions I think about now. I'm like, oh, why did you ask him that? Like, duh, he has a smoothie every day, but I didn't know that at the time. So yeah.
That's pretty cool that you kind of were introduced to him before IHP. Like you had him on the podcast. And I feel the same way. It's like, I feel like he's so authentic and he's truly doing this because he cares. And his commitment to spreading wellness is something I haven't seen, in my life.
Yes.
A podcast every day for years and just everything is committed to. And it's so cool that you had the opportunity to talk to him in that way and then dove into IHP. And It sounds like you've had a pretty amazing journey from, going from the fitness and the personal training, starting to work in the integrative health and seeing how much it could help your clients. So do you still do a lot of the fitness side of things? Do you kind of work that into what you offer?
Not as much as I used to. I do have a fitness membership. It's called Fit Team. And I design strength training workouts each month for my members. So they're all phased based on periodization. I still teach a bar class every 2 weeks just to stay in the game a little bit more, but I don't focus on fitness as much as I used to. Before, I feel like fitness was such a huge part of my life. But then I eventually learned it's such a small piece of the puzzle. That hour that you spend working out at the gym is great, but what are you doing for the other 23 hours in your day? So that's really where I want to focus with my clients, just help them with their entire day, not just the fitness piece of it.
Yeah. And I think that's really cool that you have that membership. And I'd love for you to tell us, because you have a podcast, you have a membership, like how else are you serving your community? Because it sounds like you have kind of a mix of different things that are helping people with all different aspects of their health. I'd love to
Yes.
hear about that.
Yeah. So I have quite a few different pieces. I feel like different pieces resonate with different people in an entirely different way. So some people love a podcast, some people love long form blog posts. So I try to do as much as I can. I do post on Instagram. I'll go through phases where I post a lot and then I won't post for a while. I get a little burnt out. I blog almost every day still. I have a newsletter. My membership. I've also done digital products. So like one-off like fitness programming. What else? I mean, those are the main ones. I also work with a lot of companies as an affiliate, which I really enjoy as well.
So, okay, you blog nearly every day. That just kind of it like blows my mind a little bit, because I think that you're right. Everyone resonates with a different type of content, but also as the creator, people are confident in different ways. Either you're confident writing, on video, on a podcast, and it sounds like you do kind of a combination of all of them. Do you kind of repurpose where like you'll turn a blog into a podcast and then, that same blog into social posts? Is that how you kind of maximize your time? Because it sounds like you have so much happening. Like, how do you keep it all moving?
Honestly, I should do that a lot more because that would be strategic. So thank you for the reminder. I'm literally all over the place. My Instagram posts are different than my blog posts. I'll sometimes do, for my podcast, I'll do a full blog post on that topic to go with the podcast episode. But I have been trying to repurpose things a little bit more, even just recipes. I know I make all the time. I'm like, okay, next time I make it, I need to record a reel because I make this all the time. I love it. And it's quick, but I feel like video is a lot more intimidating than writing a blog post. It's so much easier. You can batch a lot more. For video, I just think there's a lot of preparation and editing, and you have to get dressed and look like a real person. And it's just a lot more effort that goes into those types of posts.
Yeah. And I think it's different people are stressed about different things, right? It's like some people, getting on camera really makes them anxious and it holds them back. And so it takes them 3 hours to record something that maybe should take 5 minutes, as opposed to, like you said, sitting down and writing a blog. And one of my favorite and the least stressful things that I do in my job is taking my iPad to the park where there's no internet and just like writing, right? And to me, it's a really calming thing for me. And it is interesting, like how, if we're talking to other health coaches, because that's this, primary audience, is helping them get more comfortable with content, because that's really intimidating for a lot of people. And it sounds like you've been really consistent for a very long time, because it sounded like you started your blog, 15, 16 years ago? Like that was
It'll be 16 this year. Yeah.
So how many blogs have you written?
Oh my gosh, almost 4,000, I want to say.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that drives a lot of organic traffic to your website.
Yeah. Search engine optimization is a real thing. So that's why I've stuck with it for so long, because it's always bringing in new readers, new podcast listeners, new Instagram followers. It's a great hub for someone to find you. And also you own that space too. So Instagram's great, but it could disappear tomorrow. So what's going to happen with your audience on Instagram? So I think having a website and having a newsletter list are two of the most important things that you can have.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like you own that list, you own your blogs, right? They can't be taken away from you, and they're evergreen assets. And, I think, again, that is so important, is like, you don't have to rely entirely on social media, right? You've proven that you put out good content. Google's going to help people find it, right? If you SEO optimize it, and then it can help fill that newsletter list, and then you nurture the community on that newsletter list. But 4,000 blogs, that's impressive.
I mean, some of them are trash. Probably like 1,500 of them just need to be deleted. But yeah, you have to make it a habit, though. You have to just see what works.
Providing value. They're still providing value to somebody, right? And that's the other thing, is like, that's a lot of ideas of what to write about. I'm assuming you've got this like long spreadsheet of like all these ideas, and yeah, you have so much content that you can now repurpose onto other platforms, which is amazing. How often do you podcast?
I try to do once a week. And I also feel like talking to clients gives me content ideas too, because a lot of the same themes will come up. So I'll be like, oh, I'm going to turn this into the newsletter intro this week, or I'm going to include this in a blog post or a podcast episode. So you can actually get content ideas from your clients and see what questions they have and what they're struggling with. And back to the consistency factor too, I think that if you just make it a habit, like you're putting in the reps, just like with fitness. So you're putting in the reps over time and you're going to see results from it. But also I've found that the reels that I take maybe 5 minutes recording are the ones that do the best. So like you can put all this pressure on yourself and okay, I'm going to have makeup on. I'm going to plan my outfit. I'm going to do all these cool transitions and find this trending audio. And then you could just get on there and say something impactful in 10 seconds. And that one could do really well too. So it's always a guessing game to see what's going to perform well. But I find that the more low key posts that just feel real, they actually land pretty well.
Yeah, I'm so happy you said that because everyone thinks they need to have really high production value on everything. And often it's really just, being authentic. And like you said, sharing something of value, and people are going to connect to that and really appreciate you showing up as a human. And, you can go way overboard on the video editing, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, again, it's ideas come from everywhere. I have a notes and a Trello board open all the time where I'm writing ideas down all the time, just constantly for new blogs, new short form content. And you just never know where that's going to come from, but your clients is a really good source. And so on your podcast, is it often you teaching or are you doing interviews?
I mostly do interviews. I'll do solo episodes every now and again, but I like doing interviews and having different experts on the show.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And so you said you had a membership. Is this entirely fitness or do you work in more of the integrative health side as well?
I've tried to start to implement more of the integrative health content into the membership. So it's mostly fitness, but each month they'll get a recipe pack, a meal guide that they can follow, playlists. I might do an episode of the podcast with an expert and I'll add it into the platform. Just any way I can give them extra value because I know so many people are starting to become more interested in concepts that aren't just fitness based. So everything in the health aspect. So I try to add in as much as I can.
That's cool. And so on the integrative health side, do you have core pillars that you focus on? Do you focus on hormones or gut health or what would be kind of your core pillars that you help people with?
Yeah, it's funny because I was thinking about what my niche should be within the coaching world, because if you just say, I'm a holistic wellness coach, no one cares. You really need to find your specific person that you're talking to. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to narrow it down to moms because I'm a mom in their 30s and 40s who are struggling with low energy because I feel like that's so common. So I'm like, okay, that's what I'm going to focus on because I feel like a lot of health coaches that have done really well have had their own specific health struggles that they overcame. And then they focused their coaching practice on those struggles that they were able to heal themselves using the protocols and all of the de-stress protocol, all of that stuff. So anyways, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to focus on moms, 30s and 40s, low energy. I haven't really had significant health struggles. I've had little things throughout the years, but nothing that I could base my whole practice off of. And then last year, I actually had mysterious health issues out of nowhere. My eyes went crazy. I had really bad eye inflammation, allergies, histamine reactions, autoimmune type symptoms. So joint pain, fatigue. It was really terrible. And no one could tell me what was wrong. So they're just like, oh, here's this steroid. Here are these eye drops. I saw a bunch of eye doctors. We did blood work and 2 of my lupus markers came back positive. I'm like, okay, well, the lupus thing kind of makes sense, but also kind of random. I had weird rashes over the years too. I always thought it was just stress related. And so I really dove into the functional testing. I did a deep dive on myself using all the things I had just learned. I had just finished my level 2 certification and I followed the protocols. So I replenished the deficiencies, got rid of the toxicities. I'm halfway through the CBO protocol. But when I went back in December, both of those lupus markers were negative. So I was like, okay, I got the inflammation down. I was never officially diagnosed because I didn't want to go to rheumatology because I knew they would just say, here's your steroid, come back if you get worse. And I wasn't that bad. So my symptoms were manageable. But from there, I was like, okay, I'm going to focus on allergies and autoimmune type symptoms because that's what completely rocked my world last year. And I was able to use these protocols on myself and I feel a million times better.
That's amazing. And it's so interesting how that shifts once you experience something like that. And I was just talking to a client who is a health coach, and she was in the same place. She's like, I haven't had any significant health issues. So I'm worried that I'm not going to be able to share. And I feel kind of more of the imposter syndrome because I haven't experienced those things. I've got a bunch of kids, but I just don't have those stories. And so to hear also that, you have been doing this for 16 years and building this audience and community and supporting and serving people, even having not had those yet, and then how things are able to shift when you go through something like that. Mm-hmm. And you have that experience. And so you can now, focus on, more content on that side, but you still have that community. But it's really cool, again, once to know that it doesn't always have to be the same, right? Like if you go through something and you're able to overcome it, you can always help others do the same thing. And it's so cool, again, like you were able to dive deep and not go down the rabbit hole of the Western medicine like they probably wanted you to, and realize that like lupus or, a disease name like that isn't necessarily what it is. And that you can totally kind of, do the functional side of things and feel amazing.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of power too in sharing your struggles, because before, whenever I was dealing with something, I would just wait until I was completely out of the woods and then write a blog post about it. Hey, this is what happened to me, but I'm better now. Everything is fine. But with this one, I was just like, I'm in it. I don't know when this is going to end because it feels kind of hopeless right now. So I was posting about it the entire time. And it was really incredible. It's sad because you don't want to know that other people are having the same struggles that you are, but there are so many people that could relate to what I was going through and were really interested in what I was doing. And it was nice because it can feel really isolating for them and for you. So I think it's such a beneficial thing to share your struggles in the moment because it'll help your audience relate to you. Like you're not a robot, you're a real person. And these are real things that so many people experience. And that can be another way that you can relate with your audience.
100%. And I think that is something that a lot of health coaches struggle with, is like, they don't want to show what they maybe feel as weakness. They don't want to show that they're still struggling with certain things. And imposter syndrome is such a big deal with that specifically. It's like, I'm not healthy. I haven't overcome these things. I can't help people yet. And I don't want to show that vulnerability. But honestly, you're right. That's what allows people to self-identify and create that connection and feel like you are a human and you're authentic. And it's been the same thing with me when I've shared that I'm still struggling with my skin, or I'm still, I got really sick when COVID hit, right? It's like, when I share these things, it just creates that deeper connection. And they do feel, again, like you're a real human and they want to know what you're doing to move through it. As opposed to, again, like just saying, oh, and by the way, I made it through this and I didn't say anything about it because I wanted to, look perfect on every video. Right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Well, and even for the coaches you were talking to who said they haven't experienced any health struggles and they feel that imposter syndrome, what else are you struggling with health? How else do you think you could help your clients? Oh my gosh, like doing dinner every single night is really hard because my kids are in a million activities. So here's an Instant Pot meal that I like to make for those nights. So just think about your day and little hacks that you could share with them, because I'm sure there's something going on in your life that they could relate to. And you could use that as something to just provide them some extra value and also share with them that you're a real person.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's always parts to who they are, whether it is being a busy mom, right? It's like there are millions of busy moms out there who want to know how you're keeping yourself healthy, how you're those little lifestyle hacks and tricks that you put into your life. And, every little thing that you share can help someone else, right? Everything, no matter kind of what it is, it can either help them relate, it can give them, tools to improve their lives or the lives of their families. And just knowing that even the smallest things can make the biggest difference for people. I shared something a year and a half ago on one story that I still hear people tell me like that changed my life. And it was the smallest thing. And I would have never, ever thought that they remembered that they had implemented it. And, I told people that I graduated high school on an exercise bike. And I was, it's the only way I could read. So now I read on the exercise bike and I finish a lot of books. So now I've got all these people, reading on the exercise bike and getting through all their training and learning. And it all came from one story that I posted, not thinking anything of it. Right. Yeah. And just to hear a year and a half later, how much that impacted somebody.
Yes. That's amazing.
You just never know how like one piece of your story, one piece of your life can have a significant impact. And it sounds like you share a lot of your life, which is amazing. And I love your content.
Oh, thank you. I feel like I overshare maybe sometimes, but
your community loves it. That's what they're there for. They're there for you and, your journey, and they're happy to be with you on your journey. And like you said, you're providing and serving people in so many different ways. And that's one of the cool things. And one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show is like everyone wants to consume things in a different way. We're all serving in our own way, right? And you're serving in so many different ways that are reaching so many people that I admire you so much. And I admire what you do and the commitment you've put to it and, how you juggle all of it. And again, this is where, you being a busy mom doing all of this, it's so cool for other people to see what's possible.
Yeah, like you can absolutely do it. And the thing is too, I feel like there's this mentality that you have to make a really big splash everywhere. So it's like, oh, I've got to kill it on Instagram. Oh, my blog needs to get X amount of traffic. I need to do this on Facebook or X or Pinterest or whatever. But the thing is, I make little splashes everywhere. So there's not just one thing that you don't have to put all of your eggs in one basket. But I think that you shouldn't let it make you feel overwhelmed. So focus on one thing first and feel competent in it. You don't have to feel like you're killing it, but just put in the reps, make it a habit, and then try to explore something different and see how it goes from there. So don't feel like you have to do all of these things. Like for me, it was a very slow, gradual process. For a long time, it was just the blog. And then it expanded into my newsletter. And then I started working with brands. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to start selling some digital products. Okay, I'm going to turn this into a membership site. Okay, podcasting seems like it's going to be kind of fun. So I'm going to try that. So you don't have to do everything at once. So try something for a little while, see how it works for you. But there are also a lot of people that do really well just with one thing. And that's all they do. So don't let it overwhelm you.
Yeah. And that's such good advice because so many of the people listening today are brand new. They're new health coaches. Maybe they haven't graduated yet. They're trying to figure out where and how they want to make that splash in the world. What makes them confident, what lights them up, what drains their energy. Right. And like we talked about, some people writing is what's the easiest. Some people being on video is easy. And it's really just committing to it. And like you said, not feeling like you have to make a big splash with every single post, or every single blog. Even if you reach 100 people with your posts, you just touched 100 lives, right? And that is incredible. And we're all in this for the purpose and the mission, right? We want to serve and help people. I think that's why every health coach is in this, is like, we want to help people improve their lives. We want to help people get healthier. And even reaching 50 to 100 people with one post can start that. And just tell people, like, don't hold yourself back. Just start. Yeah.
Just make yourself do it. Just like anything else, just make yourself do it. And like you said, with the reach of 50 to 100 people, think about 50 to 100 actual people in your house. Like all of these people are here and they just saw what I put out there and they're enjoying it. And oh, wow, they're following my page now. That's amazing. So think about them as actual people instead of numbers, and it will completely change your mindset. Because I'll get down on myself sometimes about numbers and reach, and I'll actually Google what that amount of people looks like. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like it's okay. It's not that bad. And then just keep going.
I love that visual of 50 people in your living room. That's such a great thing for people to see. Cause I talk to people all the time. It's like, okay, do I have to be on social? Can I do this all in person? And it's like, okay, how many people can you reach, in person versus on social? And, it's really just making the decision of how many people you want to help, right? It's like, it's going to be really hard to get 50 people into your living room. Right?
Absolutely. Yes. And I think that word of mouth is so powerful. Like social is great and you can reach people who don't live near you or that you would never find otherwise. But word of mouth a lot of my clients are from word of mouth, from people that I know in real life, like my real friends and family members. So when you get your clients results, they'll spread the word for you. And I think that that's such an incredible testimony of what you're doing, and let that encourage you. But I think that like you can emphasize social, but also those in-person relationships are going to make a huge impact too.
Yeah. And I always forget the stat, but there's some stat like 70 to 80% of all purchasing decisions are made from referrals in person. Everyone thinks they're online, but it's actually still in favor of in-person recommendations is where most of that comes from, which always just kind of blows my mind considering the whole world seems like it's on social.
Yeah.
But it's kind of crazy to think. And again, the referrals is so powerful because you serve one person well and they get results, right? They're going to tell everyone they know because everyone's struggling with something. And if you're the person who can give them a win and give them and help them get closer to their end goal, they're going to share that with people who they care about because they want those people to be healthy as well. So referral networks are going to be really powerful as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And people are going to ask them what they're doing too. So I have 2 clients and all of their friends are like, what are you doing? Your skin looks amazing. You've lost a lot of weight. Like you seem like you have a lot of energy. And so they're happy to spread the word when you do get them the results, but also people will notice changes in them. Like, oh my gosh, they seem so much happier. Their energy is great. They look amazing. What's going on? And they'll tell them for you. So yeah, social is really nice for just reaching a cold audience and giving value to your people that choose to follow you, but definitely focus on those in-person interactions too.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you mentioning that, considering you do so much on social as well and knowing how important the in-person is, as part of that. But no, so if you could reach millions of people with this podcast, what would like the one core message be that you'd want to share?
I would just say consistency. It really is paramount in everything that you do. And it doesn't have to be like just taking it back to fitness because it's easy for me to relate to that. It doesn't have to be intense. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be crazy. It just has to be something. So little steps every single day is what's going to make the biggest difference in your goals. And also just to focus on the forest and not the tree. So if you have a day where you were off or it didn't work out or you didn't work out or you didn't post anything or write or create anything, just start with it again the next day and focus on a grand scheme of things mentality, because that's what's really going to make the biggest difference.
Thank you. That was great advice. And I'm so happy that this entire community gets to hear that. And thank you so much again for being on the podcast, sharing your time with us and giving us so much valuable information here. It's going to help all of our listeners without doubt.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Where can people find you?
So you can find me on my website. It's fitnessista.com. So it's fitnessista.com. That's also my Instagram handle. And those are probably the 2 best places to connect. But I'd love to see you if you want to come over and leave a comment or send me a DM. I would love to hear from you. And just also I can help with any resources or support you in your journey. I'm really excited for all of our new IHPs, wishing you like tons of success. I know you're going to absolutely love it. And I'm just here as an extra person if you ever have a question or if I can help you in any way.
Well, I know they appreciate that. And hopefully people reach out to you because you're such a great inspiration for them and for me. And again, I'm just so happy to have been able to connect with you and have you on the podcast. And for everyone listening, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube or any of our podcast platforms. And I hope to talk to you again soon.
Yay, thank you so much.